So a lot of you have been asking me why the artwork has not been changing in a while. And the reason for that is simple. We are changing literal walls in the house, like literally changing them, knocking them down, building new ones in weird places, addition, remodel, so messy. And so I'm actually like more busy when I'm not making the soap and raising the tiny humans, cleaning up behind Mr. Soap and Clay as he's tearing down said walls and building new ones. So I can go in there and do the drywall and the tape and the mud, which is also messy and not a lot of fun. And so as a result, I haven't had time to just actually walk into the pontoon and do anything other than film in here. Really, we're not using this space hardly at all anymore. And change pictures around. I haven't had time to do so. So that's why they haven't been changing. People have asked. Now it's been answered. Has nothing to do with what we're doing today for the soap. But you know, my time. I will tell you all about what we are doing with the soap in just a minute. But before I do, hello, I am Mrs. Soap and Clay. Let's make stuff. How's it going, Sudsers? Welcome back to the channel. You are at Soap and Clay, where we make all the soapy things, and you are here for day 159 of 365 days of soap, and today we are doing the 5th bar of the 12 months of soap set. We are doing May. Yeah, May. And for this one, obviously we're doing a floral for it because yesterday was supposed to be April showers and have a teardrop in it, and it didn't, but it smells like rain anyway, so that's awesome. And it's kind of has that cool gray background, so gloomy and whatever. April showers, May flowers, all of the things. I'm also doing little embeds like I did with the March bar, the Shamrock bar, which might be another reason why I waited so long to do the March bar, because I had already done this one, and it's 2 rows of little flowers with little stems and all of the things. And so a lot of work actually up front, but not a lot of work for the actual pour. Let's get to the pour, and we will talk about the things that I have learned and some tips and tricks if you're going to be building like a little flower design within a, there. Hey guys, it's May. I mean, it's not really. I kind of wish it was. It's really cold and dreary here. But that's what we're doing. We're going to use Voodoo for the pink. We're going to use Astro for the flower stems. It's all going to be a lot of embeds because apparently, well, here's the thing. Whenever I do this, and I think I have talked about it in this 12 months of soap thing, whenever I do this every year, I look at the year and the scents that I really loved, the designs I really loved, and or the designs that we did a lot of. And we did a lot for everything that I'm wanting to do to get away from embeds, because we did a lot with embeds, right? There were embeds in the Star Wars things. There was embeds in the Animal Crossing soaps. We had embeds in the Marvel. It was a lot this year, more so than usual, actually, because for the most part, believe it or not, I don't do a ton with embeds, but because we did so much of them within 2021, I felt like this had to be incorporated into the designs of the soaps for 12 months of soap. And so we're doing a lot of embeds. Now that right there is titanium dioxide dispersed in oil to make it nice and bright white. And so yes, we will be doing embeds, and those little teeny tiny flowers, they took a while. Not as long as some of the others though, because I actually have a crap ton of molds for flowers because we use them in bath bombs quite frequently. So that one wasn't terrible, and I was actually able to stick the majority of them together as I was getting them out of the molds, so I can put, a couple inches at a time into the actual soap and not have to do individually like we did for the March bar, right? Right. Let's go on to the pour of this and see how my Mayflowers all works out. Okay, and on to the pour. And for this guy, first, there's February hanging out right next to it. Cute, huh? Yeah. But second, the scent that we are using, which I have not talked about yet, is Flower Balm, which is a dupe scent of a Viktor and Rolf perfume that I adore. I actually have every Flower Balm out there, like every version of the Viktor and Rolf, and Mr. Soap and Clay wears 2 of the male versions because I'm obsessed. And so that's what I'm doing for this one, because flowers. And I also had done this for the T-Swizzle set at like the end of last year. And I had talked about the company that I got Flower Bomb from, Wellington, during the fragrance oil deep dive, right? And so I wanted to make sure that it was incorporated in the 12 months of soap as well, because I believe I put them in the Never Leave Me category. I put them in Never Leave Me or Stan. I don't know. It's actually really hard to get me to say anything is necessarily a staple in my line. Now, for these little, stem embed things, it's just melt and pour that I poured into just a square silicone mold, and then really, really thin, and then just kind of picked up the mold and schlooped it around until the entire bottom was coated. And then I just cut the actual strips for the stems just to varying heights. And I believe I did 6. I wanted 6 in there, but only 2 sets of flowers, because then it sort of looks like, grass around a flower, really, was what I was going for. And so for the taller-ish ones, I will be putting the flowers in, but I wanted to make sure that the flowers were staggered within the design as well. One, just so it looks more realistic, because not all flowers are, the exact same height. And 2, so I could get both rows of flowers into the bar. Because remember, when you're working with designs like this, you only have, like 2.5 inches? That's the side to side of your bar to do a design. So you have to pay attention to that whenever you're making soaps like this. And so I was definitely really, really careful with the placement of all of these stems, because I did not want them to just run along the complete side and therefore maybe peel out at the end of it, or 2, all be pressed right next to each other and not give the effect that I was going for. And yeah, when you're putting in a whole bunch of embeds like this, you do really have to pay attention to where all of your embeds are going, and not forget to put them in. How many times have you guys seen me sort of pantomime what it is that I did, at a later date, that it didn't actually get caught on camera because at some point I forgot and had to shove my embeds in after the soap was done. Unfortunately, I tend to do that reasonably often when I am working with, more than like 1 or 2 embeds, right? And for this one, again, 6 stems and 2 different groups of flowers. So this is the bottom group that I am going to keep stable and on top of the stem that I want it to be on, by just putting in a little bit of soap batter against the sides as I put them in to keep them in place. And then for the other one that's really mostly sticking out on the upper part of the mold there, the part closest to the Pyrex, I'm going to put in a whole bunch of white and then kind of embed the rest of the soap, the little flowers down into that, hopefully getting it centered or centered-ish on the green. It's not super necessary if it's centered on the green, obviously, because again, flowers don't necessarily grow straight up and down either. Sometimes they droop over, and that's cute. I do want you to pay attention to the color of this batter, and I also want you to make note of, well, the fact that I put in a not inconsiderable amount of titanium dioxide. And actually looking at this as I'm talking about it, I already see this problem. Oh, right. Okay, so I lied to you. Had to put in the final one there. Sorry. My mistake. I'm lying. I'm actually seeing this as I'm talking to you and lying to you about what was going on with that stem. So now I'm completely just have no idea what's happening. And even after all of that, the soap apprentice still had to remind me where my initial train of thought was. So thank God for her, because that would have been a disaster. So yes, as I'm watching this footage, I am noticing something that I did not notice when I was pouring it. And a lot of that may have to do with the fact that I film under a very bright light. And so everything, when I am looking at it, is very, very bright and not necessarily what you are seeing. I'm just right down there in it. This batter is already going yellow. Now, the flower bomb, when I worked with it, I believe I used that for, it was not the 1989 bar. Pretty sure I used it for Fearless. And the Fearless bar was a very beautiful plum purple with a very, very white, upper half. And so I did not expect this to discolor at all. And as we talked about with the Wellington thing when we were doing the fragrance companies, finding soaping notes is actually harder than one would assume with everything, because they don't really have them, and that sucks. And actually, as we saw with all of that, that's true of a lot of companies. And, that's fine. You don't necessarily, if you're not a soap specific company, sure, I guess I can get that. But also, if you have an actual entire section on your website that says soap safe fragrances, well, then maybe you should actually have the soaping notes as well if you really want to gain a soaper's audience, because we do, our purchases a lot of the times based on the soaping notes, because we don't want to essentially waste money on a scent that might do something weird to our bars. But as I am looking at this back, I already see it doing what it ultimately is going to do. And that's weird. And I am blowing up everywhere right now, you guys, and I apologize for that. But, such is the life of who and what I am. The soap apprentice is taking off. It's almost time to go pick up the kids and lots of activity. So, yes. And I am just going to be always making noises. Anyway, point is, I see this right now. I see it in the batter as the video continues. It is continuing to discolor into a version of what it ultimately becomes in the cut. And, I didn't see that before. Like, while I was making it, I didn't notice it. And so I was big shooketh when it happened, really. And that was not good. But I see it now. And that's, awful. But is it awful, really? With everything that we've talked about, especially with everything we talked about yesterday, right? And the April bar and how cuckoo bananas that whole thing was, or whatever. And, the little pep talk that I gave you. Because I honestly believe that we should not be as hard on ourselves as we tend to be as soapers, or just humans in general, really. Is it really a big deal if something discolors? Well, I mean, no. But this was the point of this bar was just to be pink flowers with green stems on a field of white. I wanted this to be the white bar in the line, and it's not going to do that. And so I'm being all, I don't know. I don't know that I'm necessarily spoiling much of anything. It's only 20 goddamn minutes. And so many of you, based on how long the time is, people are spent on this video, they just don't watch this whole cut or this whole pour and just go on to the cut. And a lot of times that's a bad idea because I give out really good information during the chit chatty bit, but you know that because you're actually listening to me right now. And on to the cut for everybody, because you skipped over important stuff. Wow, that's yellow. And that's yellow. That's real, real yellow. It's all a thing. Wow. Seriously, with the skipping of the videos, though, it's actually funny the number of comments I have on old videos from year one or whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, where's the recipe? Like, it's in the video. I told you everything in the video. Like, it's in the video. I don't... Anyway, people who actually skipped just to the cut have no idea what I'm talking about. But look how damn yellow that got. Oh my God. That is so yellow. And I don't know if it's the scent. I don't know. I mean, what else would it be? Have you ever seen titanium dioxide do that? I personally have not. And this did get C-popped and gelled. So it wasn't a matter of to C-pop or not to C-pop. And this is the same recipe that I used for the February bar as far as the oil blend, as well as the April bar and the March bar to that. So those all had, well, I mean, the April did not have any white bits in it, but February did. March did. But we ended up with yellow bars. But is it a problem? Shit, no, that's not a problem. A yellow background, pink flowers with green stems on a field of yellow, that's also perfect for May, isn't it? Because May is supposed to be sunshiny. I mean, it's not up here in the Pacific Northwest. I don't even know if the flowers are blooming yet because it is still rainy and gross in May, but that's the idea of May, isn't it? To be sunshiny. And what is the sun? A giant ball of yellow fire in the sky. So that still also works. And putting that next to the gray sky thing that I had envisioned for April, which did happen. I got the gray Pacific Northwest gloomy rainy sky for that, even if it wasn't a raindrop in the middle. That's also, May now represents the sky, whereas before it didn't, if it was just white. So the discoloration actually made my design make sense. April showers, May flowers, you get it. And so that's great. It worked. I was surprised to see it at the time. I'm like, oh God, so now this means I have to redesign something to get a white bar into the line, but that's okay. I'm only 5 months into this project, like 5 bars into the project. It hasn't taken me 5 months to make. That would be ridiculous. But that totally works. It's yellow, and somehow that's perfect. And now I am really happy that the discoloration happened at all. And so it's still a win all around. But yeah, that is day 159, the Mayflower soap. It's a babe. It's scented with flower balm, which is amazing. And no, I'm still not figuring out my camera situation yet, guys. In January, we will have time to fix the bouncing. Literally what the shit happened. It went yellow. That's cuckoo bananas to me. I'm actually not mad at it though. It totally worked. And I don't have a yellow in the line. I don't know why I didn't think to put a yellow. I don't know why I didn't think to use a yellow background for flowers for a May bar, because bright sunshiny day and the flowers are blooming, right? So ultimately it worked, but it discolored and I wasn't expecting that. Still looks cool though, for sure. If you're interested in the May bar, you can get it in the 12 months of soap set, when all of the soaps have been released. It's going to be a while. I have talked for the first 4 of this soap set about the need to subscribe, sign up to the newsletter so you can participate in 10 Days of Thanks. Enough. And so I'm not going to do it again today. Sudsers, I hope you have done so. I hope you guys are paying attention. I am out of here for today, but I will see all of you guys again tomorrow for another round of soapy fun. Bye.